Welcome back. My name's Steve and thank you for joining me on my photography journey today. This week I want to have a look at some of the buttons on the Z5. I want to have a look at how you can customize them and how I have mine set up to give me the best from my camera that I can get. So we'll look at the custom buttons and some of the other controls on the Z5. So let's go. So let's begin with the tour of the physical buttons we have on the Z5. So on top of the camera, you can see we have the basics. We've got the on-off switch, we've got record, ISO, and exposure compensation. So can't really do a whole lot of customization with those, but we'll come back to what they do in a moment. Aside from that, on top we've got this dial. So this is your modes. So the main ones that I use are U1, U2 and U3. So I have different settings on each of these. So for example, U1, I know that when I've set it to that, the camera is set up with autofocus set to continuous and looking for eyes and faces. When I've got it to U2, this is when it's set up with a pinpoint focus so that I can focus selectively on one thing. And then U3 is similar to U2 but with different settings for ISO and shutter speed, so varying depending on which situation I'll be taking pictures in. The other options on this dial we've talked about before, so I'm not going to go over them in any more detail today. Also on top of the camera you've got two different command dials, one at the front here and one main one here. So nice and easy to use when you're holding your camera. Talking of which, let's just have a little look at how I would hold my camera. So I'm right-handed, which I think probably helps with this. So I generally put 3 fingers around the grip like that, leaving this finger, my index finger, to go to the on-off button, the shutter release button, and record, ISO, exposure compensation if I need to, and also for that front command dial. My thumb then is free to move this back command dial, press the AF on button, the display button, and change from photo to video if I need to. So that is how I would hold my camera, nice and straightforward. And we'll come to these buttons later, but we've also got 2 on the front here. Now this is nice and easy for me to hold my camera. It's not particularly heavy, particularly when there's no lens on it as it is at the moment. So having my camera held in that way also means that all of these controls on the back of the camera, which we'll come on to now, these are easily accessible to my thumb when I'm holding the camera. So what have we got? Like I just said, we've got the display, which will change what's shown on your display on the back. You can change from photo to video mode with this switch at the back. Your AF on button does the same as pressing the shutter button down halfway. You've got a joystick kind of thing here. You've got your I button, which is very useful on Nikons, an OK button and a control pad, your main menu, and a couple of other buttons which we don't use that often, to be honest. On the left hand side, all you've got is your playback and your delete, so when you're reviewing photos basically. Other than that, this button on the front is for releasing your lens. You press that, twist your lens, and that's how you take it away. And you've also got these 2 extra function buttons here which you can press with your fingers while you're holding your camera. Nice and straightforward. While we're here, let's just talk about the connectors. So you've got USB-C, which can be used to deliver power to your camera or transfer pictures. You've got a Type B HDMI, which is useful for video out. I use it when I'm filming videos with this camera. Also you've got a headphone and microphone socket so that you can plug in an external microphone or listen to what's being recorded. And down here you've got an adapter, well, a connector for the Nikon remote control, that kind of thing. And that's about it really. As you can see, it's also got Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, which definitely comes in useful at times as well. Let's close those back up. Okay, so let's start with a few of these buttons that can't be customized. Like I said, you've got your record, ISO, and exposure compensation. Record just records video basically. You can slightly customize your ISO and your exposure compensation. You've got the options of either to change it. Let me just turn this on. So you can see on the back here, if I press the ISO button, it becomes yellow on the back, and then I can scroll through and change my ISO to whatever I want it to be. The other option is you can set it up in the menu that you press the ISO button and then change the dial. But that's not how I like to do it. I like to press and turn. And same with the exposure compensation, you need to press and then turn back to 0. So that's the kind of slight customization that you can do with those buttons. As you can see, when I'm not pressing a button on the top, this dial will change my shutter speed. So in this direction, it's getting faster, and in this direction, it's getting slower. So ISO in that direction again is getting higher, and that way getting lower. At the front here, this other command dial I can use to change my aperture, which obviously I can't at the moment because I've not got a lens attached. But if that's what I was going to do, I could use that dial to change that without any problems. When it comes to taking a picture, to focus, I half press the shutter button and that will focus. And then we also have the eye menu. And to get to that, you can either press the eye on the back, the eye on the screen, and then you've got your control pad that you can move around, or press to select something in there. And this whole eye menu is completely customizable. I spoke about this before when I talked about the menus that are available in the Z5. And to go back to take your picture from here, just half press the shutter button and it takes you straight back to this screen. If you want to focus on something that isn't in the center of your screen, all you need to do is use this joystick on the back to move your focusing point around. Nice and straightforward. And if you want to get it back into the middle, just press OK. To go to your other settings, you've got your menu button here, which will take you back into the menu, and you can set up anything that you'd like from in there. Again, half press the shutter button, takes you back to the main screen. In terms of customization, your main two buttons are function 1 and function 2 on the front. So the way that I got it set up, I've got function 1 set to autofocusing. So then pressing that button on the front, I can then turn the two command dials, one from manual to single to continuous. Changing the other command dial will change it through the different area modes. So at the moment, as you can see at the moment, I'm autofocus continuous, and then once I let go, I will have it set up so that I've got this particular function. I can have the whole screen, and if I want to select manual focus, for example my 7 Artisan's lens, I just turn that around to manual focus, and then what I would do is use the barrel of the lens itself to focus. Function 2 on the front, so this lower button, which has this slight raised part on it so that you can tell the difference between the two. If I press that one, this gives me my exposure delay mode. Turning the dial on the back will choose what that delay is. Now this is very useful if I'm taking a long exposure and my camera's sat on a tripod. So I put it to 3 seconds and then press the shutter button halfway, and then you can take your picture and it will wait 3 seconds until it then takes your picture. So no movement in the camera if you're taking long exposure and you want to have it as sharp as possible. Now, while I've got my lenses here, something else to mention is you can customize the ring on the lens. So as you can see on this 24-200, I've got one zoom ring. Let's just lock that at 24mm, and then you've got another control ring. So again, you can customize this to whatever you want. I have it set to aperture generally, but you can have it set to ISO, you can have it set to pretty much anything that you want really. So that gives you another option of something that you can customize in order to get the most from your camera. So how do you actually adjust these settings? That's the big question, isn't it? So we're in our menu now, which is just menu on the back of the camera. and then we can have a look through and see what we can do in here. So into our pencil, which is our custom setting menu, and on here you've got F, which is your control, so we'll just press that one, and then from here this allows us to change what we do. So the first up is customizing the I menu, and this is where I put everything that I'm going to find useful. So the white balance, picture control, auto bracketing, exposure compensation, the release mode, so this is whether it's a burst or the self timer, the AF area mode, focus mode, so manual, auto continuous or auto single, the image area size, the ISO, the interval timer shooting, so time-lapse videos, whether it's silent or not, which is the shutter sound or not, and the exposure delay mode, as I was showing you with the function 2 button just now. So what you can also do is have your custom controls. So in this menu, this is where you can assign something to all of the different buttons. So function 1 and function 2, as I said, those are the two on the front of the camera. You've then got your dial on the back, which is both a joystick and a button as well, so you've got two different options there. You can change what the video record button does. You can choose what the function button on the lens does, or the other function button on the lens, so you've got lots of different options. So at the moment we can change this to various different things. So look at all the different options that you've got. So as I was saying before, you've got the option to either just press a button and do something, or if you press and hold the button and then change the command dials, you can do other things as well. So all these different options. I'm not going to go through every one. I went through a lot of these when I was talking about the menus in the first place. This was a while back that we did that. So those are all your different options, and with the command dials you can even choose which direction you turn them in to go up or down. You can change which one's the main one, which one's the sub one. You can see whether they do anything when you're in the menus or not. So lots of different options, and again, to go back to take your picture, AF on, or just half press the shutter button on top, and then we're ready to take a picture. So what have we learned from this? The main thing is that your camera is yours. You've got all these different options of how you want to set it up, whether you use the lens, so I've got the control dial on here, whether I use that, whether I use what's on the camera, it's entirely up to me, and I have set mine up the way that works best for me. And then once I've set it up to a particular way, a little bit of trial and error there as to what's easy to reach when you need it, what are the most frequently used buttons for you, and then once I've done that, the key thing is to keep practicing. I know I say this a lot, but when you are trying to get used to your camera, what will help you the most is taking pictures, and taking lots and lots and lots of pictures, and this will get you to a point where you don't have to think about where the buttons are. You'll look through that viewfinder and you'll see your landscape, for example, let's say, and you'll see it. You'll see whether it's overexposed, you'll see whether it's underexposed, and without having to think about it, you'll be able to move your hand, twist the dials, maybe press a button depending on how you got it set up, and that will get you the exposure that you want. And then you might want to adjust your depth of field, you might want to change your aperture. How do you do that? Do you use a dial? Do you use the lens? For me, I use the command dial, command ring, don't know what it's called, on the lens, and that's how I change my aperture. But I can also do it with a dial on my camera. I much prefer using the lens, but sometimes, depending on how I'm holding the camera, if I'm holding the lens in one hand and the camera in the other, and I don't want to move my left hand from holding the lens, then I can just use my index finger on my right hand to change the aperture. So I've got different options. The same goes for autofocus. If I want to lock my focus onto something or activate the autofocus continuous mode, I can either half press the shutter button or I can press the AF on button. Sometimes I prefer one over the other. I don't know why. I've just found that in some situations I prefer one or the other. So having the option for both of them is ideal for me. And then one of the questions is, how do you set your camera up? How does this work on other manufacturers? Are there as many customization options? I don't know. I've never used a Sony, a Canon, a Panasonic, so I don't know how those work. But the key thing is, whatever camera it is that you use is to practice. So let me know if you have any suggestions on different ways to set things up. Let me know how you set your camera up. Just pop a comment down below. We can see between us how many different options there are, how many different ways different people set up their cameras, because mine is definitely not the only way to do it. So what are the pros and cons of my setup? For me, I personally don't think there's anything really letting me down with it. Obviously, if you've got any suggestions, any comments on it, just leave them down below and that will help me learn as well. But the pros are, I know where things are on my camera, and being able to do it without thinking about it is definitely the easiest way. What I don't use that often is the I menu, or in the Nikon menu you've got a My menu option, which I think I might try and start using, and that way you can put all of your favourite menu options together. So anything that you can't map to a button that you want to have as an option that's just a touch away, that's a way that you can do it. Not something that I've particularly used, as everything that I've wanted to change I've been able to change with just a few function buttons that I've programmed, like we've just been through. Thank you for joining me on my photography journey today, and don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you again next week on my photography journey. Have a great week. Bye.